The anime is Tonikaku Kawaii, and Yazuko is a boy whose father wants him to be as great as Universe. When he was a kid, they would make fun of him, so he decided to be bigger than NASA. He changed his own destiny with his own efforts. On his way home, he saw a cute girl, and when he turned to her to ask her name, he was ran over. He was thrown on the snow like he was about to die, and the nice voice of that girl was kept on his mind. She protected him, jumping in front of the truck. And when the boy woke up, even hurt, runs to the girl's direction that's simply cute. He finds her on a bus stop and introduces himself. She recognized his effort and cleaned his face full of blood. Also, she took her blanket and covered him. He loves the smell and warmth of a cute girl. When he tried to walk, he noticed his legs were broken. He ran for a girl with his legs broken. She's about to go for an ambulance, however, he doesn't allow his body to turn off and runs behind her, saying she's very alike to Kaguya Princess. He gives a speech of love to conquer her, and says that he loves her, and that you must fight for love. Even though he just met her and doesn't even know her name, he asks her to stay with him. She says she'll stay with him if they can get married, but he passes out, and when he wakes up, he's at the hospital and gets sad because she's not there with him. For a long while, he only studied and did rehabilitation, but he didn't feel like going to the school anymore, so he left it. He started working on a store to maybe someday see her again. Who knows? But that never happened. He's 18 now, lives alone, and works. But even having a lot of money, that's not what he wants. That night, the girl finally appeared on his door. Her name is Tsukasa, and she asks him to let her in, what leaves him in shock because of the first time a girl gets on his house. She shows him a wedding register of the two of them, what scares him out and is confused for how many time happened. But he still loves her, so he'll fill the paper. For a moment, he feels suspicious. What if she only wants to trick him? But when he looks at her pretty smile, he forgets everything and filled the paper as fast as possible. She loved her new name, and then they go to deliver the papers to the registry. And on their way there, he notices she never laughed at his name. The girl seems to know a lot about the NASA, telling a lot about its knowledge, trajectory, effort, braveness, and patience to get to the moon. She actually thinks his name is amazing. Anyway, all of this works fine, and now they're married. He loves the sensation of everything and wants to touch her every time he wants to, and she lets him since they're married. Now at home, while he waits for her to come back, he's thinking about sleeping together on the same bed, but since she's very short, he'll have to innovate with the forms. But when Tsukasa arrives, she doesn't think it'll be comfortable, so she has the idea of going to a hotel, but his face showed he didn't like the idea. So for not having to sleep at a hotel, they'll buy a futon. They go to the store of the Dom Quixote's family, and their Tsukasa asks about the different types of futons, and he gives pretty smart answers. They walk together through the store with their hands tied, and to him everything is a paradise now since he has a girl with him. He calls her to try the bed, but sadly she doesn't accept because there's still not enough for her to spend the night there. So they go to a store to buy a night suit for her, and at home he stays analyzing her shape, putting those clothes on. He'll also change as she asks him to do it right there, but he's shy just as she also was. They go to sleep, but Yuzaki can't do it, so he stays there just admiring her beauty. She moves a lot when she sleeps and falls out of the futon. He goes to put her back at it and thinks about giving her a goodnight kiss, but it's better to do it when she's awake. At the next day, she's very sleepy and starts taking the clothes off right there, but he panics and tells her what she's doing. On breakfast, the girl makes a very delicious food and she likes to see him enjoying it. After eating, they go to a bathroom house and he's anxious to see her all wet. On the way, they buy things needed for a good bath for a lady, since man only needs a soup and shampoo. He's fascinated understanding why girls are always so fragrant. At the place, they meet Kanami, the youngest daughter of the owner, who likes to do dirty jokes with Yuzaki. He says they're married, and the girl is so surprised she falls on the floor, and then she let them go inside for free as a wedding present. But we discover the present was only for Tsukasa. The girls tells him he must make Tsukasa very happy, and Tsukasa arrives just in time to hear him saying how much he loves her. She's embarrassed but doesn't hate that. She actually gets happy about it. At the bath, Yuzaki fantasies with seeing the girl the way she came into the world, and he knows if he acts normally he'll be able to see her. But Kanami heard him and now had her eyes on him. Tsukasa is getting on the water and relaxing when she notices there's another girl there who's Kanami's older sister, Aya. While she cleans Tsukasa's back, Aya asks her if she's family of Yuzaki because they have the same name, and she confirms it. Yuzaki wakes up on a massage chair thinking it was all a dream until Tsukasa arrives and sees Aya is also there. He and Aya talk about how pretty Tsukasa is, and she asks them what is their relationship, finding out they studied together at the elementary school. Coming back home, Suexa seems to be jealous of Aya, but since they were passing through a wedding ceremony, he thinks he's mad because they didn't have one. When he mentions that Suexa thinks he's talking about Aya and says she's not even a little, and that she's also pretty. But when she says that he thinks she's actually talking about the wedding dress, he's smart but stupid at the same time. Yuzaki runs saying he'll go to do some research. Going back home alone, the car was following Suexa, and inside it, there was a little girl with blonde hair. At home now, Tsukasa says she wants to feel loved for someone. She feels lonely because her husband left her on their first day as a couple, but she still feels grateful for being able to wait for her lover. Someone knocks the door, and thinking it was her lover, she opens the door happy, but it ends up being her sister Chitos. When she sees her, she closes the door on her face, but she starts knocking until she makes Tsukasa complain of the noise and sends her away. to tell to Tokiko that now she's married. Chitose is lamenting for being expulsed by her sister, and when Yuzaki sees her and tries to help her, she explains a person of her family didn't go back home, and that is a very delicate person that gets hurt easily, so she could disappear on the blink of an eye. Tsukasa appears on the middle of the talk, and when Chitose realizes everything, she turns into a monster mad at him for marrying her sister. But Yuzaki greets her happy and invites her to go inside their house. She tries to create rivalry, but he uses the power of the Jujutsu speech to win the battle. Chitose snaps her fingers and the security car arrives and takes her and Yuzaki to a mansion. She says that she'll end the marriage using a cheating scandal, and she only needs one prof. She calls Charlotte and Aurora, two pretty maids. She asks them to put him on that situation so she can take pictures. Charlotte actually liked Yuzaki and was enjoying it, but she passed the point, and when they tried to calm her down, Yuzaki took the opportunity to run away. He got into a room with a moonstone and other things very important. Charlotte could find him, and she was holding a big sword, and without caring about the important things there, she attacks him and ends up breaking the moonstone. If the nitrogen gets out of there, the stone will oxidize, so Yuzaki asks them for things to fix it before the most important thing for Tsukasa is destroyed. Chitose is surprised because he knows a lot about Tsukasa and explains that was a stone given by Tsukasa's grandfather to her, and then starts saying some weird things like she's the one who have to marry her. Charlotte, on the other hand, takes the opportunity and ounce Yuzaki's head on her chest. Aurora edited the photos and made them look even worse, and when Tsukasa arrives and sees them, she makes a scary face. She asks him to go to another place, saying they'll discuss the matter, but they're actually running away from there using a secret way. They get to a church that no one uses, that's on the top of a mountain. Yuzaki tells her pretty things, asking her to marry him, and then he gives her a surprise kiss. At the next day, Tsukasa realizes there's no TV since he doesn't really like films. Tsukasa sees cinema as her hobby, so she starts giving a lot of reference to film as it feels like she's giving a class about film. As the good husband he is, he decides to buy a TV. At home, we see he's telling how he asked Tsukasa to marry him to Kanami, and the situation starts getting hot down there when he remembers their kiss. Kanami asks about the rings, and he says he doesn't think Tsukasa will like one. Kanami gets furious and gives him a class of the 3 things a woman would like. On the meantime, Tsukasa is taking a bath and thinking about their kiss. After the bath, they go to a park, and Yuzaki says he'll work until 21 S, and she says she'll feel lonely, and to comfort her, he kisses him. Right there, we see Charlotte and Aurora are spying them. At home, Yuzaki needs to work and it's scared for Tsukasa that she may feel too lonely and leave. So she asks him to come back soon because she's scared that may happen. At work, Yuzaki misses her and thinks how the ring will be a materialization of their love being useful for not feeling lonely when they away one from another. When he gets home, he tries to convince Tsukasa of wanting a ring, and she takes him to a very expensive store of diamonds rings. Even being so expensive, he will still buy some rings, but thanks to the fast mind of Tsukasa, he's free of that stupid idea. They go to a park and he explains what the rings will be for, and she thinks it's cute he worried about her. So she kisses his checks and says for the first time, "I love you." They decide to buy 2 rings, and Tsukasa will remember how much he worries about her every time she looked at the ring. At night, Yuzaki can't sleep because Tsukasa will go to his bed all the time, and for once he got brave and hugged her. And on the middle of that, he found a little ball. He took the opportunity and squeezed it a lot. Tsukasa turns to him and he's scared she may not like it, but she turns to give him a kiss. Sometime later, she falls on the futon again, but Yuzaki had already given her some kisses. At morning, Yuzaki is done. He couldn't sleep at all. He searches for some double beds on the internet because he wants to sleep with her after the last night. He fantasies with a living room, a big TV, and a sofa to watch films together. He also wants a good bathroom so she can call him to shower together, so he has the idea of moving to a bigger house. Tsukasa thinks she likes this home because they're able to be next to each other, and Yuzaki gives references about characters that want to be king of pirates or exterminate titans, but his biggest dream is to sleep with her wife with their hands tied. On his way home, he thinks he has to be careful with the words he used to say he wants a bigger house. He's scared she may feel hurt and leave. When he gets home, he finds Tsukasa on an embarrassing situation, and they go to a part where Yuzaki explains the benefits of living in a bigger house, using the strategy of the cinema's room. And the last card he uses is saying they'll be able to sleep together with their hands tied, so she accepts it right away. Coming back to home, they talk about the new house and how they'll need help. He comments they didn't tell their parents about their marriage. He calls his parents and says he's married and talks about Tsukasa, who is spying on the door and blushes. She wants to do a visit to his parents, and Chitose ends up knowing this and thinks that trip will work as a honeymoon, since his parents live in Nara, not in Tokyo. Tsukasa wants a camera to take pictures of the trip, but his main target is to take pictures every day with him, since every day is beautiful with the person you love. She wants to save precious memories as a secret diary of a couple. He takes the opportunity to take a picture of her, and when he sees the picture, a big desire woke up inside of him. On the way to the house, he takes a good angle to a photography, and then they take the bus. Chitose is following them as a stalker, because she still didn't accept their marriage. At the bus stop, Yuzaki seems like an old man, and Tsukasa thinks it's her fault, so he recovers quickly to make her feel better. Right after they go eat, and outside we see Aurora and Charlotte love the couple, and wonder why Chitose wants to separate them, making her her mad. She doesn't care if they're cute or whatever. She'll end that marriage at all costs. At the food court, Tsukasa gets excited with the diversity of food, but Yuzaki wants something simple, making her mad. He says every time he tried a new food, he doesn't like it. So she makes him try something new, and indeed, no surprises. He asks her to try a lime, and when she does, she puts a cute face because it's too acid. So he takes a few pictures of her. They're having a lot of fun, and Chitose is mad. Getting to the house, she's still mad, so he'll have to do something to cheer her up. So he says she can choose what he'll eat and what he'll share with her. And after eating, she gets in a good mood. Chitose can't take it anymore, and when Yuzaki goes to Tsukasa and says they're acting like idiots and she's looking like a normal girl, may Tsukasa not be human. When she's about to tell what she's a journalist appears, interrupts them. Tsukasa grabs Yuzaki and run to the bus quick. Chitose screams, asking why she got Mary. At the bus, Yuzaki is with that question on his mind, but later he falls asleep. They wake up when they arrive to Kyoto and they want to enjoy the place. She wants to go to bakeries and to the manga museum, and Yuzaki says he wants to go to different sanctuaries, temples, and traditions, but she doesn't show interest. What makes him think she doesn't like historical things? To not let him sad, she says she likes them, so he takes her to wear a kimono, and after putting it on carefully, she's beautiful. The two of them even feel embarrassed for such beauty, and Chitose appears screaming at them, telling them to stop with that, and that since they're family, she has to approve the marriage. Yuzaki wants to talk to her to convince her he's a good husband, and in the meantime, Tsukasa is taken to bakeries and manga museums. Chitose proposed to play boyfriend and girlfriend to judge if he's worthy or not, thinking he'll fail. At the bakery, the employees do personal questions to Tsukasa, like why he married Yuzaki. She says he's gentle and has a positive perspective of life, and the employee blushes for how pretty Tsukasa looks embarrassed. Yuzaki did a lot of search to do things with Tsukasa, sparing no effort to perfect everything, and ends up doing everything with Chitose to convince her. Even so, she says he doesn't know anything about her, but he says he pretends to discover everything, and thinking about the double meaning of that, he blushes. Yuzaki tells the story of how they meet and how he was lucky using the Drake equation about life probability on the universe, but that someone used to explain the probability you have of finding a person for your life. Even not having credibility, he thinks it was right for him, and for that to happen, he needed a special instinct. Compared to Chitose, he didn't know much about Tsukasa, but he pretends to spend his entire life with her. He says you don't get married to prove love, but for love to be proved. At the end, Chitose left saying she wouldn't bother them for now. They're on the metro on direction to Yuzaki's parents, and Tsukasa want to know about them, so he explains a little about his archaeologist father and his crazy mom. She wants them to like her, and he says he doesn't have to worry, he'll introduce her as the prettiest girl in the world. Once they got there, she sees the Sakuba sanctuary and said after 1,000 years, the shape of the mountains didn't change. Yuzaki's mom is nervous because she says she's not mentally prepared for this presentation, and she actually isn't. It's pretty cute to see her introducing herself all nervous after Tsukasa was so cute and educated. Yuzaki asks about his father, who's even more nervous. He didn't leave this position since early. At dinner, they take Yuzaki to the bathroom to be able to talk with her alone, and after the talk, she says to him his parents are adorable, and they talk good things about him to her, but that is a secret. His mother appears in the room to say she has a futon for the both of them, and that their room is next to them, so they should not exaggerate. And after realizing what she meant, since their futons will be at the same high, he is pretty excited, thinking they could do something very impressive. And after Tsukasa took a bath, she also realized that and seems excited. Yuzaki thinks he can't do anything weird and calls her to lean back on his arm, what is just as painful as nice. Tsukasa gets up to give him time to recover, and he asks her for a goodnight kiss, so she goes above him and kisses him. His parents on the next room heard everything. At the next morning, while Yuzaki is still sleeping, Tsukasa wakes up to change, but he's actually woken up and spies a little bit. Tsukasa is talking with Yuzaki's father, and he doesn't know what to talk about, so she asks him about archaeology, and he invites her to go to his place of work. She's enchanted, thinking Yuzaki is as smart as his father, and he's embarrassed, saying he doesn't even reach the feet of his son. While he complains Tsukasa is looking to an old love letter she said she wrote in the middle of a night, which is on an old language. After Yuzaki says in front of his father Tsukasa doesn't like history, she decided to visit the museum she was tired to see, but this time with his husband, rewriting his story and taking a lot of pictures. Yuzaki says she doesn't have to effort so hard. They'll walk the entire city, starting with the Nanabuga, and Tsukasa takes a picture of him. On a temple, Tsukasa wants a funny picture, but he wants a couple picture. She calls him a pervert for wanting to be always stick to each other. Yuzaki wants to go to a palace now, and Tsukasa says it doesn't exist anymore, that what's there is a reminder of the memories about it. She also mentions that earlier while she was talking with her father, he thanked her for saving his life, and he was happy his son was on good hands. Tsukasa promised to keep taking care of him. The trip is on the end, they say goodbye, and at the bus, they stick together and say that even having fun, the best place for them is their home. When they get home, they find a surprise. The place where they lived was destroyed by a thunder, and Yuzaki looks for the plant they won. What leaves Tsukasa happy because he cares about the memories they created together. He's very ready with important things, and they had rented a coffer on a property insurance. Tsukasa loves his manner and how he didn't get mad when something so unexpected like that. He's always ready, what makes her remember he's amazing, and at the way home, she says she loves him. He goes to the sauna and starts thinking about what they'll do, and he thinks about going to a hotel. On the middle of his fantasy, Kanami surprises him and says he was thinking about bullshit and she can prove it, looking at his special parts. After Kanami offers them a room they don't use so they can stay there, and later the girls arrive saying Tsukasa is so sweet and that it was expected he'll get such a good wife. When she realizes what she said, she feels ashamed, and to make things worse her mother arrives saying she was in love with Yuzaki. And in shock she feels sad because her first love ended so quickly. Aya, the girl, realizes she couldn't change his future because of fear, and her new purpose will be to become a beautiful YouTuber gamer. Some days pass and Tsukasa wants to clean the clothes and he says he can do it, but she feels ashamed he may see some of her clothes. He's also ashamed and they both stay on that mood. Cute though. Kanami's mom asks Tsukasa to go with her and he stays looking at her clothes alone, wondering if he could touch them. He decides to make up the excuse that he needs to take them because they'll take them to the laundry and he's a very careful husband. He takes one of her clothes and smells it with pleasure, and Kanami was looking at him and said she's been looking from the beginning and comments that when is needed, he has attitude. At the laundry, he notices Tsukasa is in sweatshirt and she explains that the last clothes she has after the fire are washing. She's very ashamed and doesn't want him to look her much. He stands and finds her adorable. He's crazy to hug and kiss her woman that has nothing under those clothes, but he's scared Kanami might appear. Since he can't do that, he takes a picture saying it's a weird mood of his wife, and she gets very mad. After that, Kanami gives her a lesson about girls, and because Tsukasa lost a lot of clothes on the fire, he had to buy new ones to keep her femininity. He proposed to Tsukasa go shopping and he asks if she's sure because women's clothes are expensive, and he says there's no trouble. He wants to see her with very different clothes. They go to a store and she starts trying different clothes for him, and he finds her beautiful no matter what she wears. But he says the clothes are showing too much and he'll be jealous because the man will look at her, so she asks him to choose some for him. But he chooses a lot of clothes for old woman. Then they go to buy underwear and he's not feeling well there. Tsukasa grabs his hand so he doesn't look suspicious, and he starts staring at his underpart. He realizes that and says she'll go change alone, but he said he'll be stuck there alone. So she puts him on a bank and do her shopping normally. On the way to another store, Yuzaki wants to see her that way, so he asks her if he can see her with those small clothes, and she says he can see as much as he wishes. At night, Kanami arrives and says she'll leave and that they can feel free until the sunrise because the sound doesn't go to the next house. They eat melon and Yuzaki says he's happy for eating good things with Tsukasa, wanting to give her food on her mouth. He's shy and he thinks that's very cute and says that since they're alone, he pretends to do all kind of embarrassing things. At morning, Yuzaki receives a call from the owner of the old place where they lived. They're building new apartments and he wants Yuzaki there. He and Tsukasa go visit the model building and end up on a giant building, and being curious, they go look inside it. The palace is pretty and Tsukasa likes the bath with a pretty view, getting inside and asking him to go on it with her. But he rejects the offer, nervous. The bed is also big and Yuzaki wants to sleep on the same bed with Tsukasa, and she doesn't see any problem on that. Yuzaki says someday they'll be able to live on a place like that, but she says that on little houses she can feel his warmth very close to her, so it doesn't matter where they live, wherever he is where she belongs. At the next day, Tsukasa wants to know what he likes more, and he says is her, but the question was about food, so he answers curry. Because they need more ingredients, they go buy and take the opportunity to have a night walk. Kanami's mom gives them a tip and says there's a park at that hour that's empty, perfect to do interesting things. He says he doesn't need now. On the way back, they're going through that park and Tsukasa realizes the place is very empty and dark, and she asks him what he pretends with that. He answers with a lot of firmness he wants to kiss her, but because she ate a garlic bread, she doesn't want to do it right now. She admires the place, saying she feeling only the presence of the two of them in that world so vast. He takes courage and grabs him from behind and says it was to be more light, but with the mood of the moment, he couldn't resist. He asks her what he thinks after they married, and she says she's learning a lot of things and that there are a lot of moments where her heart beats so hard. She's discovering from the first time all the emotions inside of her, and she feels she'll discover even more. They hug and Yuzaki says her body is warm and soft, and she says her body is like that because of him, and that all of her beginnings are his. Shitos goes visit Tsukasa and gets crazy when she sees the building disappeared. Aurora asked a neighbor and they found out the building was fired, and when she sends the girls to go find Tsukasa, he appears walking there. Shitos wants to know where they're living, and she says that on a game of a park, and that's colder than she thought, but they have gas and electricity, and when Shitos gets inside of it to check, Tsukasa disappears. Back at home, she notices Yuzaki is using some things he found where they're living, since it's a depository of things that belong to Kanami's father. Yuzaki finds something he doesn't know what is for, and she explains it's for making takoyaki. He's surprised and happy because he can do that with here, the happy of taco. They go to top of Kanami to invite them to the taco party, and Tsukasa says she wants to get to know better Aya. Suddenly Churros arrives saying she doesn't need to try to mislead her, and Tsukasa dramatizes saying because she's living there as a host, she has to leave with a blanket on the floor. Chitos almost cries with the beggar's life of her sister. Aurora and Charlotte had never been on bathroom like that before and want to enjoy it. To get on the water, Chitos is pushed by Aurora. They have a lot of fun and get out of there relaxed to go to the taco party. When they arrive, there's a beautiful feast and everything is delicious. Tsukasa prepared everything with the help of the maids, and after everyone ate, Aya proposed a real party to play a game. Tsukasa wins every game playing against Yuzaki that's used to play with patience. After she plays with Kanami that knows a little bit more than the basics and makes Tsukasa level up. The maids start a reality show of who will win the games, and Yuzaki will do whatever for the winner. The competitors are Tsukasa, Chitos, and Aya. Chitos trained a lot, she can't lose against Tsukasa, but Aya doesn't do lives of games for nothing, she's trusted. Chitos has an evil plan. If she wins, she'll make Yuzaki walk naked on the street, but she's defeated on the first minutes against Aya. She doesn't accept it, so Aya accepts to play a lot of times again, defeating her in all of them. Chitos is destroyed and Tsukasa feels nervous now, and she first feels trusted to win, choosing a character she knows well. They have a hot battle, but Aya gives a final blow to Tsukasa and wins. Tsukasa can't believe it and says she lost because she's been a long time without playing, so she says she wants to change the game. Aya doesn't have experience on that game, so she can't do anything because she doesn't know how the control works, so Aya ends up losing against her. Aya won't give up and wants to try again, and when Tsukasa thinks she's about to give the final blow, Aya managed to dodge it and they end up tied. Exhausted for playing, they accept the victory of the two of them. At night, they're doing takoyaki and having fun. Tsukasa teaches Yuzaki how to do it, and Chitos looks at them from the distance. She now feels indifferent with their marriage. The important is he's good for Tsukasa. At the next day, Yuzaki receives a call from work. He's going to be full of work. Tsukasa gets worried and says he has to know when to stop. After that, he invokes his powers and spends day and night working. At the next day, when he finally finished, he says he's fine, but he's with a weird cough. When Tsukasa notices that he measures his temperature and sees he's with fever. After returning from the doctor, and Yuzaki is resting on his bed and has a lot of pain on the morning, and Tsukasa complains about he lying about it, and he sees he has a beautiful wife to take care of him. He worries about her getting the cold too, but she says she doesn't get hurt or get colds ever. After taking a lot of care of his husband, she realizes there's not much more she can do for him and wonders what else she could do to make him improve. And the solution is to take cute pictures of him while he sleeps. At night, Yuzaki wakes up feeling better, and Tsukasa goes to him worried and asks how he is and if he wants anything. But he rejects food, and she says as a wife, she wants to do things to help him. Yuzaki says he only wants to change, but she sends him to shower first and asks him to take his clothes off because she'll take him there. After being forced to take his clothes off, Tsukasa takes a towel and cleans his back so delicate. Yuzaki enjoys it a lot and says he's feeling hot and not because of the fever. Tsukasa, being determined to help him, says she'll clean his underparts too, but Yuzaki gets really ashamed and says he doesn't want to, even though she insists. She puts herself on his place and understands what he's saying, but she doesn't think it'll be bad if it's for him. They're both ashamed, and Tsukasa offers him a fruit because he seems to have more energy. When Tsukasa gives him food on his mouth, he realizes getting a cold is not always so bad. Before going to sleep, she complains at Yuzaki for now knowing when he's getting sick or hurt, remembering the day when he went at her all hurt. She says he needs to know when to stop because he only has one life and he needs to give it importance on the dark room while sleeping. Yuzaki agrees with everything she said, and then he feels she's taking his hand, and then she grabs him and hugs him from behind. She says she was so worried and that she felt relief now he was better, and to comfort her, he grabs her hand strongly and apologizes for making her worry. He wanted to finish the work quickly to be able to go to a festival with her, but from now on he'll be more careful. He kisses her multiple times until Tsukasa gets embarrassed and mad because he's not completely recovered yet, and still he's pretty excited. Yuzaki finds her so adorable and wants to do everything, but she reminds him he needs to know when to stop and sends him to sleep.